If you hear we're going to impeach them in a 2026 campaign ad, here's the truth. The statement can mean everything or it can mean basically nothing. Because impeached does not mean fired. It means charged. Like getting a speeding ticket, not getting your license taken away. And with the midterms and primaries ramping up, candidates are tossing impeachment around like it's a magic eject button. So let's break down what impeachment actually is. Who does what, and what happens after someone gets impeached. Welcome to Project Liberty, where we break down how your government actually works. No fluff, no legalese, just plain English. Impeachment matters because it's one of the biggest break glass in case of emergency tools in the Constitution. But it's also one of the most misunderstood. And misunderstanding it is how politicians sell you a trailer for a movie that doesn't even exist. Today, we're going to go through three things. First, what an impeachment is and who can be impeached. Second, the House versus the Senate roles, step by step. And third, what changes in real life after an impeachment vote. So impeachment is a two-step process. Step one is impeachment, and then step two is conviction and removal. Think of it like sports. The House throws the flag, the Senate reviews the play, and decides the penalty. Or think of it like dating. The House says, we need to talk. And the Senate decides if it's a breakup or just a dramatic group chat. The Constitution says federal officials can be impeached for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. That last phrase sounds super specific, but it is not. High crimes and misdemeanors does not mean any crime you can find on Google. It basically means serious abuse of power or serious misconduct in office. It's political and legal, like a workplace firing that also involves HR paperwork. So now who can be impeached? Presidents, vice presidents, federal judges, and other federal officials. Not your governor, not your state senator, and not your annoying HOA president, unfortunately. I know we would all love for that to happen. And impeachment is not a criminal trial. You don't go to prison because you got impeached. You can be investigated or prosecuted separately, but that's a different track. The House of Representatives has the sole power of impeachment. Sole meaning only them. No one else gets that move first. So how does it start? Usually with an investigation. Committees look at evidence, testimony, documents, and arguments. Then after that, someone introduces articles of impeachment. That's a fancy way of saying the specific charges, like count 1, count 2, count 3. The House then debates and votes on each article. Each article is its own vote, and it's a simple majority vote. And that means 50% plus one of the members that vote. If at least one article passes, the official is impeached. Full stop. That's it. They are not automatically removed, however, and they don't automatically lose their job. They are officially accused by the House. This is why impeachment is closer to indicted than convicted. It's a formal accusation step, not the punishment step. After that, now the process moves to the Senate. The Senate has the sole power to try impeachments, meaning the Senate runs the trial. The House sends managers to the Senate. Managers are basically like prosecutors, and they present the case against the official. Now, if the president is on trial, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides. That means that they run the room and keep the process moving. But senators are still the jury. If it's not the president, the Senate usually presides over its own trial. Same basic idea, senators are the decision makers. The Senate can hear evidence, they can hear arguments, they can call witnesses depending on the rules that they adopt for that trial. But here's the key part. To convict, it takes 2/3 vote of the Senate members present. Not a simple majority, 2/3. Now that's a high bar on purpose because removal is a huge deal. The system is designed so you can't easily remove someone just because you don't like their politics. And if the Senate does convict, the official is removed from office automatically. Then the Senate can also vote to disqualify them from future federal office. That second vote is separate, and it's only about whether they can come back later. So impeachment can lead to removal, but it doesn't have to. And most of the time in U.S. history, it doesn't. So let's answer the big confusion. What happens after somebody gets impeached? First, the person is still in office during the Senate trial, unless they resign. or unless it's a judge and there's some internal court stuff happening. Second, they're now in a political hurricane. Expect nonstop headlines, fundraising spikes, and partisans digging in. Third, Senate trial time. The Senate sets the rules for a specific trial, so timelines can vary a lot. Fourth, the outcomes are basically 3 lanes. Lane 1 is acquittal. That means that they are not convicted and they can stay in office. Lane 2 is conviction and removal. They're out immediately. Lane 3 is resignation or term ends before the Senate finishes. And yes, the Senate can still choose to continue in some cases, especially if disqualification is on the table. But that gets complicated fast and it's rare. Now, here's the part candidates don't love saying out loud. Impeachment is easy compared to removal. Removal is hard. Because the House is built for majorities, the Senate is built to force big agreement, which is why we'll impeach is often a political promise, not a realistic outcome. It's like saying, I'm definitely going to start going to the gym. Cool. Are you also going to start eating protein and sleeping 8 hours a night, or is this just a vibe thing? Now let's anchor this with real examples. Presidents have been impeached and still not removed. First instance was Andrew Jackson, and he was impeached by the House, and then the Senate did not convict by a 2/3 majority, so he stayed president. Bill Clinton was impeached by the House, and then the Senate did not convict either, and he stayed president. And Donald Trump was impeached by the House twice, and the Senate did not convict either time, and he was not removed. Federal judges, though, have been convicted and removed more often, because judges don't have partisan constituents the same way that presidents and lawmakers do, and because misconduct cases can be more straightforward. So when you hear impeachment, don't just ask, can they impeach? Ask, can they get a 2/3 in the Senate? That's the real mountain that they have to climb. Now, this all matters because impeachment is a power tool, and power tools are dangerous when people pretend that they're toys. If you treat impeachment like a routine campaign promise, you lower the bar for using it, and that means more chaos, more distraction, and less actual governing. Also, it affects your expectations. If a candidate says, vote for me and we'll impeach X, you should hear, we'll start a process that may or may not remove them. And you should immediately ask, what's your plan for the Senate? Here's an actionable tip. Next time you see an impeachment headline, look for 2 numbers. Does the House have the votes for a majority? And does anyone have the belief path to 2/3 in the Senate? Because your life is not improved by political theater. Your life is improved by results, jobs, prices, safety, rights, competent agencies that answer the phone. So I want to know what you think. Should impeachment be used more often as a check on power or less often because it's become too political? Drop your take in the comments. And if you've got a specific impeachment claim you keep hearing about in your state's 2026 races, paste it and then we'll fact check it with the mechanics. And if this helped you at all, please hit subscribe so you don't get fooled by the next Impeachment Now soundbite. Project Liberty is here to translate this process into plain English. Next week, we're staying in the how it works lane again. We're breaking down what Congress can actually do with investigations and subpoenas. And what happens when someone tells Congress, nope. I'm Brett with Project Liberty. Thanks for hanging out.